Hello everybody, welcome back to Wolfeei. Today we're going to be talking about non-English teams in Minecraft events, starting off with this little intro screen, which I don't speak Spanish that well, but I'm fairly sure this means something like we miss MCC, or I miss you in MCC, or I miss Akito. I don't know, man. I miss Aquino and MCC, something like that. I don't fucking know. Anyways, we're going to be talking about non-English teams in Minecraft events because I had a thought literally last night regarding Pandora's Box and kind of thinking about the scope of events in general, of how the event scene as a whole, more specifically the English side of things, can grow, right? I feel like the only event that currently is pushing for growth or is kind of opening the door for events to maybe grow is Block Wars, because it is expanding outside of the Minecraft community for the most part, right? Minecraft is not like a dead game at all, but Minecraft's community is relatively spread out. There's little bubbles that kind of stick in their own lane, and unless an event like MCC were to invite a bunch of life stealers or a bunch of whoever, right, people from the YouTube side of things are probably going to stay relatively the same in terms of size. I will say, of course, recently MCC has been a bit more popular compared to the end of Season 3, but regardless, I think the non-English teams in Minecraft events are usually the standout popular teams in events. I say usually because there are examples where it's not like the most notable one, but there are several instances where they were the most notable ones. Most notably, I know I said notably way too much, but this one, Dragon Pit, PB Dragon Pit, cool roster, right? The first 7 team announcements, a bunch of familiar faces within the English scene, event scene, even some people that you maybe haven't seen as much in events like a Minute Tech, or at the time I think Jumper hadn't been in events that much either. But then the pink team arrives, dropping an absolute bombshell of a huge team on us, with the Counterstein, Farfadox, Shadoon, and Spreen combo, which we also saw in Buy-in Battle, being by far the most popular team in this event. And the same happened with Buy-in Battle. It is by far the most popular team that was in this event, and probably for a while will be the biggest team that both of these events will have seen for a long time in terms of total viewership, because the Spanish scene is just a lot more prominent nowadays. The English scene is a little bit more died down. We're going to have to wait for either a COVID-2 or just a random spike in popularity. Who knows, really? But we're going to have to hope for something to happen for that, to bounce back like it used to before, or like it was before, rather. However, nowadays it is the non-English scene that is a bit more prominent, and we've even seen this in non-Spanish examples as well, where most recently in Block Wars in December, we had Papa Plot, or Kevin, make an appearance in the Twitch Rivals event, and he was by far the most popular player in the event. I think by himself, he had more than half of the total viewers during the event. I could be wrong. I'm fairly sure he had more than half of the total viewers by himself, which proves he is an absolutely huge streamer, of course. And one thing that is interesting from his appearance at the event is that he actually had a good time and would seems like he would be interested in giving it another go in the future, and more notably said he would really want to see the German scene, because he is German, have either an event like this or the German scene be more involved in events like this, which brings up the next situation, which was the next example is a previous example, but Twitch Rivals EU. This obviously was a big event in general for all of the types of parts of the community, because within Minecraft, a bunch of the highly requested English streamers made an appearance, but also this is the first MCC to have multiple non-English teams in it, having a French team on red, a Spanish team on green, and then a German team on purple, in which, something that I don't think a lot of people know, I'm fairly sure the German team was the most popular team in this event by a decent margin. I could be wrong, but I'm fairly sure it was. I want to say that like Hugo had like almost 10,000 viewers during the event. I should have checked on Twitch Tracker. But I know that this team was pulling a lot of big numbers, which is also one of the main reasons why I could see this team happening again, or another German team happening again, for the hopeful upcoming Twitch Rivals event in the end of May or the beginning of June. where I assume we're probably still going to see not just one, but a few non-English teams. My bets right now are a German one, an Italian one, and maybe a Spanish one. I feel like the French team won't happen again, but who knows really? It's not my not my event, so I don't know. But this was the most prominent team from this event, and even the French team was one of the more popular teams of the event, and even the green team was one of the more popular teams of the event. I'm fairly sure, at least. I think the green team was the smallest non-English team in this roster. I could be wrong in terms of viewership, but still a huge deal, which does bring up, like, hey, of course it's an EU event. It's going to be a bit more universally viewed from different languages and different people. Of course, there was also Sidonia as an Italian rep and Jeremy as a Dutch rep, etc., right? But still, these teams were some of the most notable ones, and it just makes me think, like, in order for the event scene to really grow further, especially MCC and PB, I think, are the prime examples, because they are sticking to a more Minecraft-oriented lane. They're not really going to go in the variety aspect, the variety side of things, as much as blockwars is, unless MCC does events like Underdogs, Pride, Twitch Rivals, Ender Cup more consistently, which I don't think they will, but maybe. I think it is important for these events to really open up their doors to try to expand for other language, or other parts of the community in terms of different languages. German scene and the Spanish scene are the most notable ones because they are some of the more established ones that we know. I know the French scene is also pretty popular, but I also know that the French team is a little bit harder to reach, or the French scene is a little bit harder to reach generally. Shadoon would probably be the catalyst, right, for a lot of different connections, where he's prominently known in the Spanish scene, and I assume also somewhat known, at least within the French scene, because he does speak both of those languages. And within the German scene, I think someone who would probably be the most likely to connect with people is Wichtiger, who is the person over here. They reached out to me for some other unrelated stuff in the past, and also some of the German guys did seem to be a little bit more interactive, especially compared to like the French people in terms of behind the scenes backstage, talking in between the event or before or after. So I think these would be, again, the German and the Spanish types of people would be a bit more likely to maybe make a repeat appearance in these event scenes. And also something that could be interesting is just if there was the ability for more regular appearances from full non-English teams, the whole community could kind of come together again. Some of the most notable events that we see from Twitch Rivals as of recent are stuff like Hunt and Run or like Squidcraft, where, of course, they are at its core a more Spanish-leaning event, but there's a lot of English streamers in these events as well who kind of create a crossover experience, right? So you see a lot of people interact with each other that's maybe not as likely, and also with stuff like the QSMP events, people like Callum over here have kind of ventured out into maybe talking to some streamers that you would never expect him to talk to, kind of akin to what MCC used to feel like in its early days, right? Where communities within the English scene crossed over that you didn't expect. Now things are very well integrated, and some of the crossovers aren't as unique anymore. Of course, like mentioned, if a Lifesteal member were to be added to MCC, putting them with like a Grian or putting them with whoever, right, a Tubbo or something, could create some crazy crossovers. But generally speaking, I think the Spanish scene prominently, and then maybe the German and the French scene, or potentially even the Portuguese-speaking scene, of course, as well, could cross over and kind of make a conglomerate huge event. Because an event like MCC, at the scale it is at, and more so at the quality is going to be very unique and going to be very appealing for a lot of different types of viewers. And I think if the events were able to capitalize on this a little bit more, I think you could kind of see not a new boom in popularity, but a significant increase in popularity, generally speaking, if it were to be a regular occurrence. That also, I've just been yapping regarding this one because there's multiple different languages, but one of the most recent experiences actually in MCC was a random, I think it was a Peruvian team, I could be wrong, but at least a Spanish-speaking team in MCC Party, which ended up being a little bit too strong, but of course introduced Aquino and Soaring, in which, I don't know if people notice, but this was one of the biggest teams as well in this event, if I had to guess. I mean, I think Pink is the most popular, but I do think Cyan comes in second for being the most popular team in terms of viewership. Looking at Shadoon, he was pulling very nice numbers, which I do think Shadoon typically in MCC pulls more numbers when he's on a Spanish team because his audience is prominently Spanish. But Aquino over here was pulling 6K on average. That's crazy. I don't know, man. That's pretty unheard of for MCC. Usually there's like a few people who pull these types of numbers nowadays. And I mean, I showed it in the intro. Aquino potentially returning would be really good for MCC. That's a lot more eyes on the event and would potentially, you know, open up the door for growth. So yeah, just wanted to get that thought out there. Let me know your thoughts on potential non-English teams. I think the next time we see one is probably going to be Twitch Rivals, considering, assuming it happens, this will be the second MCC of Season 5. Obviously, first we have Blank Canvas, but then a month-ish later we should probably see a Twitch Rivals event happen in which there's almost no way there's none. So there's at least one non-English team and probably 3. If I had to guess. Maybe even 4 if the French people also want to return, and then an Italian team is thrown in there. I don't think there will be a Dutch team if I had to guess, but there's a lot of potential for non-English teams, and I do think they are going to be some of the more notable teams that you see occur in MCC, potentially Season 5, but also just generally speaking, because they are some of the most popular ones. Anyways, let me know your thoughts on non-English teams, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.